Ladies and gentlemen, this Red Gamer Telecom video, we have some fortuitous news for, well, Microsoft and the entire Xbox division. Despite the fact that the system was initially slated to be released last Tuesday, meaning the system was basically delayed 6 days, and the launch party that was set up was actually cancelled and Microsoft didn't put out another one, the system has had a resounding success. In fact, one of Microsoft's retail partners did end up organising a midnight launch, so it actually had 8 of its retail outlets across China, which are in the biggest cities of China, including Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and a few others, and people queued up. So basically, this isn't just like, oh, okay, a couple of people actually went inside the store. No, people were actually queuing up outside, waiting to go inside. Now, it's worth remembering that this launch does coincide to be Microsoft's, well, first entry into China. In fact, it's more accurate to say it's the first console entry in China in 14 years. There has been a countrywide ban on the purchase of consoles. That's not to say that people didn't get around this. It is important to remember that there were black markets in China where you could actually pick up an Xbox One or PlayStation 4. Now, I don't have official numbers to back this up, but apparently the system was actually fairly popular, as well as the PlayStation 4, on the black market in China. But obviously that is not government sanctioned, whereas this actually is. It's you just walk into an electronics store, there's the Xbox One on the store. So the fact that they are launching ahead of Sony is definitely a positive step for Microsoft, particularly, as I mentioned previously, after a rather tepid, let's use the word tepid, launch for the Xbox One in Japan, which wasn't really unexpected. I don't think Microsoft were really certain how the Chinese were going to deal with the Xbox One. I'm sure they felt fairly confident because there wasn't a huge choice, but at the same time, China is very into PC gaming, and of course very into like esports and that type of thing in China. And so for many, I guess they were just wondering what was going to happen. Now, personally, I think this is very positive for Microsoft, because they are selling the systems at a fairly decent markup. It's not like they're just selling them at like a discounted price. In fact, the Connect Less version is selling for $600 US. Just to give you an example, that's actually 3,700 yuan, and the Connect version is selling, so in other words the version with Connect bundled in, is selling for $700 US, so that's a lot of cash. Now, in addition to that, they do get a special day one controller. Now, this controller has a rather uninspiring, but still it has the writing China day one, and this is bundled with every console of those who picked up the system on launch. And once again, just to reiterate, people are really happy. I mean, Microsoft haven't released the official sales figures yet, but you can't really expect them to. They're probably waiting to see what accumulates over the next couple of days, because let's face it, they don't want a situation where everyone just bought the system at launch and then no one else, and the sales just tail off completely. They'll want to no doubt perform a little bit of analysis on this and see, okay, what's the retention rate? Are people trading them in? Are they getting a good attach rate? In other words, how many people are buying peripherals with it? What's the sale and the state of Xbox Live? Are people getting, say, the gold subscription? Are people buying a lot of games at launch? Are they getting like 2 games at launch? Are they just buying the Xbox One and nothing? They probably want to figure all of this stuff out before they announce anything. However, Microsoft and sales figures are fairly cagey anyway. Now, as I said, the Japanese launch has been pretty disastrous. In fact, it's just gotten worse and worse. But we're going to have to just wait on this one. I'm very happy for Microsoft, I'll be honest. I do want to see what happens when Sony kind of unleash their system as well. But I think this is really positive news for Microsoft, and obviously if they can get some early adopters in the country, it's just a positive step. One of the issues that everyone knows about when it comes to the Xbox, especially in Japan, is that you look at the games on the system and there's quite a few there that are very Western orientated. That's not to say all of them are. For example, D4 is definitely more Asian inspired, but there's a lot of like FPS titles and so on, which is not to say no Japanese plays, but typically it's more kind of a Western thing. So I do feel that China, Microsoft, if they can get in, let's face it, it's not like it's a tiny population, technically speaking, this is just being very broad and harsh, but if you're, from a sales point of view, you're better to be successful in China than what you are in Japan, simply because there are more consumers who can buy the product. Now, obviously, it depends on the amount of people who are willing to cough up the cash, and typically Japanese are very avid gamers and typically have a fairly good attach rate of their games anyway. So we're just going to have to wait to see what the final sales figures are. I guess we're going to have to wait, say, 6 months, year, 2 years maybe, to see how it all ends up. But right now it's looking pretty good for Microsoft, which is fantastic news in my personal opinion. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.